Okay, let us now talk about the controversial question of dating of the Kurukshetra war of the Pandavas. Now we have a lot of dates starting from 5000 BC to as late as 950 BC. So I'm starting it in a kind of a chronological order. So Dr. P.V. Vartak placed Lord Krishna's birth at around 5561 BC. A.K. Bensal calculated it as 3228 BC. Then there's B.V. Raman. He has stated it to be around, that is that Krishna's birth around 3228 BC. All of these are actually can be rejected because they don't fit to many factors that we are considering for the dating of the Kurukshetra war and the birth of Krishna. So you have some dates like from Hole, that is starting at 3143 BC as a date for the beginning of the Kurukshetra war, and Narahari Achar, who is one of the important person who has studied the dating of Kurukshetra war based on archaeoastronomy and other factors. He is putting a date of 3139 BC for the war, and we have a traditional date of 3138 BC, which is 36 years before the Kali Yuga start and death of Krishna in 31302 BC. So that is a traditional date because it is calculated by Aryabhata in 400 CE. So which is being considered as a traditional date, even though Dr. Els considered it as a pseudo-traditional date. Then Balakrishna concludes the date of 2559 BC using consecutive lunar eclipses. Dr. S.R. Rao, based on the archaeological findings in underwater city of Dwarka and other Harappan cities, gives a date between 1900 BC to 1700 BC to the Kurukshetra war. And Dr. Elst supports Rao's dates and put the sinking of Dwarka at 1500 BC. And then you have Srikant Talagiri placing the war at mid second millennium BC, which is again around 1500 BC, based on his analysis of Rigveda and Avesta. All these people consider the presence of the chariot as an important factor in deciding the date of Kurukshetra war, and also this archaeoastronomy based accuracies like conformance to archaeoastronomy, which is available at around 1500 BC as well as at close to the traditional rate of 3138 BC. And then you have some other datings like Iyengar concluding it as 1478 BC using double eclipses and Saturn Jupiter conjunctions, which is again archaeoastronomy. And you have rejectable dates of R. Shankar's 1298 BC and Dubé's claims of war happening at 950 BC, mostly based on Aryan invasion theory. Yeah, this slide I have taken from another research which I'm doing. Basically, the tracing of Balarama's pilgrimage along the river Saraswati, which is mentioned in Mahabharata, the ninth book. So it's the importance of this particular travel narrative is that it accurately describes the Saraswati river as a partially dried up river, and this particular information is the highest concentration of geographical and geological information on the dried up Saraswati which you can find in Sanskrit literature. So this when you analyze this particular travel narrative, you find around 35 different locations, starting with Dwarka and then going to places like Vinashna, where the river Saraswati is invisible because it's dried up, and you actually get know about a lot of places on the banks of Saraswati in the Kuru region, where a lot of almost all a large percentage of these places, 35 places, falls in that region, which is highly densely populated. And on the northern banks, you have Kamyaka and Dvaita forests, and in the south of the Saraswati, you have a lot of pilgrim places populated by people. And archaeology of this area also shows that the southern banks of Saraswati was highly populated, and a lot of cities were excavated in these towns and cities like Birana and Rakhi Garhi. All of these were excavated in this region. So it's actually, the narration completely fits with whatever archaeologists found out and whatever geologists have found out on the partially dried up Saraswati river sometime around 1900 1700 BC. Identification of Avestans or the Zoroastrians as Daityas. This is a very interesting topic. See, the Daitya or the Daitya, which is now mentioned in 20 times in the Vendidad and 9 times in Yest and 2 times in Yasatas, all of these Avestan texts. Daitya river, or the river of Aryana Veja, one of the 16 lands of the Ahuras, the original, which mentioned as the original homeland of the Avestan people. So the Ahuras is actually a rendering of Asura in Sanskrit, which is when rendered in Avestan, it becomes Ahuras. The Avestans shared a common territory with the Vedics. For example, the Aryana Veja is identifiable with the cold regions, the Airavata regions in the Kashmir, northwestern frontier provinces in Pakistan, to the north of Iravati or the Ravi river. The Daitya river is identifiable with Vitasta or Sindhu in Kashmir. And then there is mention about as Sugdha, another one of the 16 lands, which is identified with Sumandala, which is the fertile plains to the north of Kurukshetra. Then it talks about Mauru, which is a dried up region, and it is straightly identified with the Maru region, which is the Thar desert to the south of Kurukshetra. Then it talks about the four-cornered Varena, which is one of the 16 lands of the Zoroastrians, identifiable with the four-cornered Kurukshetra. Harahvati, another place mentioned, is identifiable with Saraswati. Hapta Hindu, identifiable with the Sapta Sindhu, which is Punjab. So and this Hapta Hindu is the name which has given rise to the word Hindu and finally India. And you have it not only stops at that. The Avestans worship almost all the deities mentioned in the Rig Veda with a different pronunciation. For example, Yama as Yima, Vivasvat as Vivanghat, Mitra, then Aryaman as Aryaman, etc. The only one god they are having enmity, which is Indra. So Indra is an enemy mentioned in all these Avestan texts. And Avestan book Vendidat is a short form of Videvadat, which means against the gods, against the Devas. And you have slight variations, like the Manu's flood mentioned in the Vedas become the Yamas or Vedic Yamas escape from the flood. And you have Ahura Mazda or Ahura Medha, who is mentioned as the supreme deity of the Asuras, which it can be identified with Hiranyakashipu in the Vedic Puranic text, because the Hiranyakashipu is mentioned as considering himself as the one and only one god, like what is described in about Ahura Mazda in Avesta. And Hiranyakashipu is mentioned as destroying the Deva worshipping people, the Deva worshippers, which is the same position we can find in Avesta. The Ahura Mazda orders his followers to destroy all the Deva worshippers. So the Hiranyakashipu is also mentioned as doing the same. He even tried to kill his own son Prahlada, who was actually in favor of worshipping the Vedic gods as in the Vedic tradition. Now the identification of Danaans, that is the Greek heroes of Iliad and Odyssey, and the Irishmen as the Danavas. This is again a interesting topic. So why I say is because the Danan as a noun is repeated 114 times in Iliad, 10 times in Odyssey. And the Greek heroes who sacked Troy like Achilles, Patroclus, Antiochus, Agamemnon, Ajax, all of them are described as belonging to the Danan tribe. The river names Don and Danube in Europe is derived from the matronymic Danu, the mother of the Danavas. The Irish goddess named Danu is having that they don't know what is the origin of this goddess, but again in Vedas Danu is mentioned as the mother of the Danavas. And you have the concept of Tautada Danan, the people or the tribes of the goddess Danu in Ireland. And you have Brigus described as the priests allied with the Danavas in Itihasa Puranas. For example, Usanas or Shukra, who is a priest of the Danavas. Then the wife of Brigu is mentioned as Brigi, and you have a kind of a goddess named Brig or Brigid described as an Irish goddess belonging to the Danan. It's not just the name, similarity in the name, but even the characteristics you have similarities. And you have the Phrygia, the Anatolian kingdom in Turkey, which is having some kind of a connection with the Brigus. The Danans described in the Greek literature, they consider Danu as their mother. So all of this connected together, you get understanding that the Danavas mentioned in the Puranas and Itihasas are none other than the Danaans described in the Iliad as heroes, as well as later the Irishmen who has migrated to the farthest part of the Europe. Symbolism of the Nagas, Yadus and Purus in the Saraswati civilization or the Sindhu Saraswati culture. So you can see a lot of symbolisms of these tribes mentioned in Sanskrit literature like Nagas, Yadus and Purus in the excavated artifacts of the Harappan cities and settlements. For example, the Naga symbolism is the Kundalini, that a coiled serpent, which is found in these artifacts. Yogic postures, which again a Naga symbolism is found in SSC. Yadu symbolism, you can see the identification seals like those in Dwaraka given to citizens as symbols of citizenship, much like the passport of today, which is mentioned in the Harivamsha of Mahabharata, again found in the artifacts. The Puru symbolism, for example, the bulls. The Purus heroes are compared to bulls in Mahabharata. Example, Bharadarshapa, which is found, again, bulls are prominently found as a symbol in IBC Indus Valley culture. Elephants, for example, the Kuru had their city named Hastinapura, which is named after the elephant. And it is again, the elephant symbolism is found in the Harappan cities. So we can say the SSC area, Sindhu Saraswati cultural area, was inhabited by this multicultural ethnicity consisting of the Nagas, Kurus and the Yadus, who have shared kinship alliance as well as some kind of conflicts.